Decepticon stuff that I'm doing currently, I got something in the mail that gives me a huge excuse to talk about my favorite Decepticon character, and that is Masterpiece Destron Laserwave, also known as Shockwave. So we get a chance to talk about MP-29, probably one of the best Masterpiece toys ever made, and I'm going to get into that when we do this review. So this is Protoman, this is Protoretro, this is Shockwave, and let's do this. I don't know about you, but I am hyped about this one. My favorite Decepticon of them all, Shockwave. Now, what I'm even more happy about than anything else is that it gives me an excuse to really talk about the past of this character. Just to preface, I'm not going to dive into Unicron Trilogy, Shockwave, Shock Blast. I'm not going to go into the movie Shockwave, animated Shockwave, or the aligned continuity with Prime and stuff like that. I'm going to talk strictly G1 Shockwave, because that's the one that I love. You know, the one from Marvel Comics, the one from the G1 cartoon by Marvel. That Shockwave. And I'll give you guys a whole history lesson. So let's do that right now. Now, to begin with, Shockwave, before he was Shockwave, before he was Laserwave, before he was anything, he was a toy made in Korea. Specifically, a company called Toyco made, let's bring in the original. Here he is. This is what some call as Astro Magnum. In later versions by Radio Shack, he was known as Galactic Man. This was what was Shockwave before he was Shockwave. Some call him Shackwave, Grey Wave. This was the original OG. And what was essentially different from this and what we got for Generation 1 in 1985 was the trigger was different, and there was different ways that the battery connected inside there. There was little things here and there, but otherwise it's more or less it's the same toy. Some ways to tell that this isn't a bootleg is the real deal ones say made in Korea. Because again, Toyco was a Korean-based company. If you're already kind of noticing, the Masterpiece Shockwave and the original are more or less the exact same size, which is going to be very interesting when we get to the robot modes and stuff and everything of that manner. So I'm going to just take out the Masterpiece for now, and we'll talk a little more about this guy right here. So afterwards, obviously Hasbro, they rounded up all the toys to make their Transformer line, and in '85 we got the release of Shockwave. Now this one obviously is not going to hold up as easily like this one, but I'll try my best. Maybe I'll bring this in here, make it easier. There we go. So this was 1985 Shockwave, one of the first 1985 toys that shipped back in the day, and like I said before, had the battery gimmick and everything, which I think I'll take a nice old 9-volt battery and plug them in, because a cool thing with the Masterpiece toy is share some old ideas with the new ideas. So when you put a 9-volt, this was Shockwave right here. Cover your ears if you don't like loud noise. And it lit up. It was a loud mofo. Quite annoying, really. Let me just disconnect this. So, now the problems though with this original mold was that the rubber on both of these for the connection, which was originally used just to feed the light piping to the front of the gun and into the hand, would degrade very easily because it was on a bend, and when you transform it, it would bend too. So having these in very good condition is very difficult. So that's these two. Now, with him being a G1 character, let me just pull up some merchandise that existed of him. So in Japan and America, we had the decoys, also known as Keshigumu. In Japan, this is the Destron Hero Collection. They were sold individually. Now, one of them's missing there, and that one of them, of course, is Shockwave. Yay! There he is, looking splendid as always. So he was part of that collection of Keshigumu, or decoys, and they originally came in red and in purple, and then later on just exclusively purple later on. And his Keshigumu number with the Decepticons or Destrons was 67. Now, after that, we had the Action Master, which non-transforming, more show accurate a little bit, although in all honesty the original 1985 toy really was pretty accurate to begin with. So not much could be said about that. Now obviously, like when we were going into the Unicron trilogy and stuff, the name of Shockwave got lost because the character was not really used again and again afterwards, during Generation 2, during Beast Wars, and even during the Machine Wars times, and even going into Beast Machines. Now there was talk of Shockwave being in Transtech, but because Transtech never happened, neither did the Shockwave toy, and probably would have saved the name. Going on that name, afterwards, unfortunately, the name got lost. So the sad truth is that both Shockwave, the G.I. Joe character from 1988, and Shockwave, the Transformer character that Hasbro had licensed, was lost to a company called Winard Toys. And Winard used Shockwave for their own uses, and we were stuck with the name Shock Blast for many years. Like I said before, Energon was Shockwave, and going into even a certain alternator toy turned into a RX-8 of Shockwave. But it was called Shock Blast, unfortunately, because they just didn't have the rights to the name. But luckily, thanks to Energon and Cybertron, some good luck, Hasbro attached the name Shockwave to one of their mini-cons and secured the name back when Winard kind of dropped the ball. Afterwards, Shockwave was back, didn't really have much in terms of his G1 stuff except a Mighty Mug, which you see here, which is actually one of the most adorable of the Mighty Mugs, and good use of an original mold. And then the Boss Coffee figure, which I actually did a review on these guys, and there are these little articulated PVC figures here. But G1 Shockwave, really, aside from that, didn't have much else in terms of merchandising. Again, we stem more into that of the essentials of the other continuities. The name Shockwave was used for Tidal Wave in Japan, even though the character really wasn't a Shockwave. The name Laserwave was attached to Shock Blast and Energon. We got the movie Shockwave, we got animated Shockwave. There was Shockwave all around, but none that was really this G1 Shockwave. So, covered all of that. One last thing I just want to bring up is there was also a world's smallest Shockwave, which was done by Justy Toys, but I don't want to go too much into third party. I just wanted to bring that one up because it's based on the original design. So let's talk about this guy right here, the original Masterpiece one here. Now the Masterpiece one, what's interesting about it is it uses batteries, so you have two double C batteries, which are the pill batteries that if you're someone like me who's a Game & Watch Nintendo collector, have these very easily, readily available. And then you needed two AAA batteries for the backpack here. And what that would do is it would activate a cool light emission. So it had a switch here that if it was on the upper and you pushed the trigger, you got a normal light, like so. And if you pushed it down, and then you pushed it again, it did for 30 seconds this cool vibration light. Now this all emits from what would be Shockwave's gun hand, but we'll get into that when we get to the robot mode. Now, cool stuff that this thing comes with. It comes with a bunch of stuff. A Shockwave in gun mode, which we'll get into what that exists for. It comes with a slew of hands, clear, hand like that, which is like a salute hand, which we'll get into what that's for at robot mode, a clear one again, a left hand that is not clear, and then a right hand that is clear, and a interesting piece that we'll get into also. The reason why there's some that are clear and some that are not is that they wanted to give you the option if you want it to be toy accurate to the original G1 toy, or show accurate like the original show, which is what Masterpiece usually tries to achieve. And of course you got the typical trading card in the new style, and sticker sheet that also you could do toy accurate Decepticon logo or show accurate Decepticon logo, which actually had a very different design to it. So you could decide how you want your Decepticon logos to look on them also. This backpack here, while it's actually meant for something in robot mode, it actually doubles as a stand for your Shockwave gun mode, which is a nice little addition. And the last piece of interesting engineering that I want to touch on before we get to robot mode is how they did his cable. Now, like the original, like I said before, it would degrade over time. This one they used more of a spring slinky kind of cable, which is really smart because you could make it pose in a lot of different ways and it won't damage, it won't bend, it won't break. And it's kind of cool, actually. And it's metallic. And there's actually quite a bit of die cast that's used in different areas on this figure. But again, something I'll touch on more when we get to the robot mode. That's all I could really say about the alt mode. But a lot of cool little additions and looks great. Does an amazing job. I can't say there's anything more they could have done to make this gun mode, or as it's called, the Laser Vulcan mode in Japan, any better for Shockwave or Laserwave. So let's go to the robot mode and really get into the nitty-gritty of this. Transform. Motion. In robot mode, Shockwave looks spectacular. What can I say about easily one of the coolest Decepticon characters that has ever existed in the Generation 1 continuity, especially if you were a fan of the Marvel Comics? This guy reinvents his old transformation of a toy that was already perfect to begin with in the original, and just figures out how to take care of kibble, how to take care of business. This guy is just taking what was already an amazing G1 toy and giving you perfection, which is what I've always expected from Masterpiece toys. So where do I start? Number one, with the original G1 toy, and I guess we'll bring them in now, might as well. It was already pretty much perfect. Size-wise comparison, they're more or less the same, but essentially, obviously, with Masterpiece, you want to go the extra mile and achieve perfection. Number one, like I said, they fixed the problem with the hose, so now it's not a fragile rubber or anything, it is just a straight-up slinky. They fixed the issue with having thin legs by using a very smart form of engineering in overlapping legs, which you kind of saw a little bit when I did the transformation, which gives him nice thick legs to make him look more like his animation model. The use of purple obviously matches more, again, the animation model, which looks great. It still has the light up gimmick, so you could still have it in his hand there, although we'll get into how you can make that even more bright with ideas. So it still has the light up gimmick with that, although I took out the batteries because they sound atrocious. But what it does away with that the original G1 couldn't do was the kibble issue. The original G1 toy, and let's bring in good old Shockwave in the back here, both had the one issue of where do you put that trigger cover. This is both versions of it. Now, obviously, with the original toy, they expected it to be some kind of weapon that you held in his hand, or had a little handle piece there, which you could kind of force in there too, but ultimately, in the end, this was always an extra accessory that sat around. What they did here is they managed to make it transform and become a little bit of a backpack so that it doesn't get in the way, and it looks great. It's not even noticeable, which is amazing. And there's even another step further with that, which I'll get into. This toy is giving so much in a lot of different ways. So it has light piping, which does a really great job at illuminating his eye there. So it just illuminates amazingly when it's like that. And he comes with a whole bunch of hands. Now here's where you have options. Now, just like I said before with the sticker sheet, you have a choice of you want to be toy accurate or G1 cartoon accurate. Same thing with the hands. Now, currently the way that it is shipped with, it comes with the option to have show accurate hands. So it has the solid numbers, but they obviously have clear if you want to match clear hands like the original toys. Pretty cool. And how it works is you just pop them off, and I'm going to use the famous salute hand from the famous scene in More Meets the Eye Parts 1, "Fear not, Megatron, Cybertron will be safe in my stead," when Megatron left him in charge. And if you want to be toy accurate, although it never existed in the cartoon, you could have "Fear not, Megatron" with a clear hand. Now the clear hands really on the right hand are kind of pointless, and you also get one that's solid like that, that's clear like that, so you can match the toy. But where the clear really makes sense is the opposite side. Now we'll bring in back this hand, and we'll take out this one and put the clear one. Now, a cool thing that they did is by engineering out the original's issue of a trigger just kind of hanging on the abdomen here. In the original Shockwave, it was this like this. It was a flat one, and it was a lot more suggestive with the original Galactic Man Toyco Astro Magnum mold. This one, what they did was, and I showed it a little bit in the transformation, they managed to tuck it away behind an ab slide there, which is really cool. But then you can't have access to it, so they put an extra button on the inside of his forearm there, which you don't have access when it's in gun mode, but in robot mode, there it is. And it glows, and it looks amazing. And again, when you put the clear one, it really looks cool. And it looks amazing. It's so cool that those options are available. But there's more. Do you want more show accuracy? Are you still not satisfied? Well then, on top of it all, we got more accessories. So let's dig through some of them. You got a gun that Shockwave could hold. Now you're going like, why is Shockwave holding himself? Well, in the episode Desertion of the Dinobots Part 1, and I think actually the instruction manual even brings it up too. One moment, let me pull it up. He was holding himself. And that was in Desertion of the Dinobots Part 1, and he just kind of was like, hey, want to play with me? How you doing? He was pretty cool. Number 2, that's really awesome that they did, was if you want even more show accuracy, say you are not satisfied with how that backpack looks, they gave an extra accessory that's independent from the toy, which was this. Now, they used it in alt mode. They're like, hey, it could be used as a stand. But this is something that's independent from the toy, and if you didn't have it, it wouldn't make a difference because he still transforms, he still does the gun mode perfectly, and still does the robot mode perfectly. But if you wanted to have super show accuracy, which again, we'll refer to the instructions, which shows a shot of it in the back here. The backpack looked like so from when he was in behind his character design. So if you wanted to have that true accuracy, you transform the backpack like so. So how it worked essentially was you opened up it like this, you ran it through like so, all the way down as much as possible, bring up the character, and then it went across like that. And then you had your more show accurate backpack if that was important to you, if you wanted to have that. And again, it's an extra touch, just in case if you weren't satisfied with how they managed to engineer the transformation and have just that flat backpack, they gave you a little bit of kibble to give you that more show accuracy, which is really cool that they did. This toy is amazing. It's absolutely amazing what they've accomplished from what was the original Shockwave. Let me bring in his World's Smallest over here, and some of his other buddies, just to round up the family. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. But could a toy like this be perfect? Does it get a true 10 out of 10? I'd like to think so. If there is one negative I could put against this toy is scale. Masterpiece has kind of had this dichotomy at the moment where we're between the Autobot cars and large Decepticon characters. And so let's bring in, let's say, Masterpiece Soundwave. A little taller than him, This is the Japanese Takara one, which is the same as your Hasbro one, but a little bigger, unfortunately. Then, the big issue, which maybe he's due for a new toy, is Megatron. Now you're probably going, whoa, what? Exactly. Megatron towers over him. But Megatron also was one of those early toys that just, they didn't know the scale yet. Now let's talk about his fellow shipping buddy. Here is Hot Rod, or Hot Rodimus. That works a little better. So he's kind of an in-between, where he works with the Autobot cars still pretty well, but he scales with some of the newer Decepticons, like the Jets, or like Soundwave. So right now it looks like maybe Megatron is the one who's kind of upsetting the scale issue, but otherwise, he looks great, man. I would have to give him, and I'm not joking here, I would have to give him a 10 out of 10. This is what Masterpiece is supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be taking original designs, making them as show accurate as possible, and just making them perfect. And he does that above and beyond. He took a design that already was pretty much already show accurate, gave it every twist and turn to make it perfect in terms of every scale, and really giving that Fleero-Deary design that final look, and then giving you options. Stickers. You want to put them on the chest? You want to give them that show accuracy? Do you want to make them more toy accurate if the toy was more your thing than it was the cartoon? It's amazing. I heavily suggest picking him up. In Japan, he currently goes for about 125,000 yen. So if you could get him for about 120 American to 140 American, that's the honest price. Above that, then you're just paying more than what he's worth. But considering that he is probably the most perfect Masterpiece toy, and that's saying a lot. That is saying a lot coming from me, because I have not encountered a Masterpiece toy that is this perfect since, like, say, Sideswipe or maybe even Wheeljack. But Sideswipe and Wheeljack didn't have the bonuses and the extras that this one did. And it's totally worth the price. So pick him up. Corey Burton would be proud. Shockwave is easily, as it stands right now, the best Masterpiece toy on the market. That's all I could say. So this is Protoman of Protoretro, and this has been a video review of the Masterpiece Destron Laserwave, or as we know him in America, Shockwave. So until then, guys, take care, and as always, roll out. Hey guys, like what you saw? Want to see more? Then be sure to like, comment, and subscribe this video. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and like the Facebook group for all the latest updates from Protoman of Protoretro.